welcome to this episode of The Good, the Bad, and the Odd with your hosts, Mark and Sam. Hi, Sam.
Hello there.
Okay, so we're back to Disney now. We've basically done all of those kind of travelogue
Hmm.
lots of shorts, haven't we?
Yeah.
And we're now on to something I've been looking forward to for a while, actually. The
Yeah.
Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad.
Hmm.
Basically, two shorter movies put together, right?
Yeah, it's like two half-hour-ish movies.
Yeah. The
Uh,
framing
the
device being a library, and talking about the characters
yeah.
of English and American literature. Um,
Hmm.
now, it's not a first time watch for me, but I was sitting there thinking, I can't remember actually ever sitting down and watching this, but I knew it all, so I've definitely
Yeah.
seen it before.
Hmm.
But I just
Because I
couldn't
think
place it.
to be frank, they're better separate. But I think as a package together, because I remember watching them a lot separate. Like I remember seeing
Yeah.
like the
Oh,
Wind in the
okay.
Willow section on. It was probably like House of Mouse or something. It's like a kid show.
Oh, okay. Okay. So you saw them separately, but so you
Yeah,
waffled it.
well, first time I saw him was as a compilation film back when I was a little kid. We
Yeah.
got him for as like a this is going to be like educational because it's high literature.
It's literature.
That
Yes,
was your
literature.
excuse,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it was a
Well, they are both quite kind of charming stories. The original, the source material, I mean, but
yeah,
the presentation is even more charming. So,
yeah,
it's they're quite fun,
mm,
and they kind of make this point in it, don't they? The
yeah.
first one is Ichabod, and weirdly,
But no, the
even
first one is Wind in the
sorry,
Willows.
we didn't realize, but what I was gonna get to was always kind of remember when I think of this, I always think the Ichabod one is first. I think because it's in the title, The Adventures
Yeah,
of Ichabod and Mr. Toad. So
yeah,
I always think Ichabod's going to be first, and it isn't, is it? So it starts with the Wind and Willows. Starts with Basil Rathbone as the narrator, which
yeah,
is something, right? Basil
yeah.
Rathbone, the quintessential Sherlock Holmes,
Mm.
narrating.
Yeah, like if you've got to have someone narrating, talking about the great literature classics, it's kind of got to be someone who
Basil
is
Rathbone.
a great literature
Yeah,
classic.
so,
So,
and funny enough, they didn't mention Shallows, but they do mention, who was the greatest sort of character in English literature. And they say
mm,
Robin Hood, King
mm,
Arthur,
yeah,
Becky Sharp, Oliver Twist, which shows some literacy because Becky
which,
Sharp is a bit of is a stretch. It's from Vanity Fair, but it's not often mentioned these days in sort of as literature, but it is. It is. So it's kind of impressive that
mm,
to me, but back then it was probably a much
yeah,
more commonly known name, Becky Sharp.
mm,
So yeah, um, so yeah, so Kenneth Graham's Wind in the Willows, written in 1908. I'm not sure if I've ever read it. I've
mm,
sampled it, but you know what? It's gave me an urge to actually go read it. So I
mm.
might do that at some point. I have read
Yeah,
the
I
Sleeping
know there's
Hollow.
like there's a bunch more stories than the one that
Oh
gets me.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
like it's not
Uh,
just the bit with the weasels and Toad Hall. So.
Yes. I did. I really enjoyed watching both of these actually.
Mm.
Quite a bit. What about you?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It really made me aware of how well paced the whole thing is. Because
And
it's like, oh,
how well animated and
yeah,
boy, the voice acting is exceptional.
the
Uh,
voice acting, I don't know if it would just be sound design or Foley for this, because there's a lot of what's clearly like human vocalizations for to make noises like motor cars for the Toad
yes.
section.
Yeah, it's very fun. It's
Mm.
really fun. Yeah, and they give it the thing about it is Mr. Toad in this is a really joyful
Yes.
life-loving character, right?
Yeah.
Who doesn't, who he's basically a bit of I don't know, a bit of an id monster. He just does what he wants, and that's
Yeah.
what it is, right?
Literally just
Uh,
chasing his like impulses
yeah,
as they happen.
and there's kind of a joy watching someone like that, right?
Yeah,
Even though it's kind of destructive ultimately.
yeah,
But yeah, it's kind of nice. J. Thaddeus Toad, yes.
yeah,
Um, And it does. Right, let's get into the first one then. Let's get
hmm
into the first one. So,
yeah,
yeah, so we have basically we find that Toad is, loves life. He's got a lot of fair weather friends, as the narrator
mm
puts it, but he has three real friends, which is the McBadger, isn't it?
Yeah,
McBadger,
Angus McBadger.
Angus
Uh,
McBadger,
and then we've
who's,
got
in my opinion, I have to say, got the probably the dodgiest accent. The
yes, this
voice,
is
the
this is
voice is
possibly
great.
one of the worst Scottish accents I've
Yeah,
ever heard.
American actor,
Yeah.
doing
Oh,
a
definitely.
quite bad Scottish accent.
Yeah.
However, Walter Rat and Mole,
Yeah, Ratty and
they're
Mole are
fine.
ideal. Like they both
Yes.
sound like fairly toffish, so it
And
fits.
I also really liked Cyril Long Proudbottom, the horse.
Yeah.
Cyril. Voiced by an Irish actor called J. Pat O'Malley.
Mm.
Sorry, an English actor. My mistake, English actor. He does him as a Lancastrian, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, really good. The horse is Cyril is really great, actually.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, he'll show up a few times as we do this because he's in
yes.
quite a few Disney films.
Oh, is he?
So
I did
yeah,
not know that.
yeah.
Right, I really like. I'm not surprised they reused him because
He's Tweedledee and Tweedledum in Alice in Wonderland for
okay,
the soon to
excellent,
be upcoming ones. So
excellent. So yeah, that's very distinctive.
mm.
So essentially, uh, Water Rat has got mole for afternoon tea or something, right?
Yeah, they're just hanging out for afternoon tea when the postman knocks and he leaves
Postman
a
us,
letter
and it's
saying
funny that it's a proper sized
it's a human.
postman
Yeah,
talking to a
it's just a
water
regular
rat.
person, and they're proportionally about right.
Yeah,
So
give
Ratty's
it.
barely higher than his shoe.
Yeah.
So,
I love how Water Rat is kind of an English gentleman, right?
mm,
In a suit and so is
yeah,
Mole,
he's
right?
got like a monocle. He talks like this, sort
Yes.
of thing.
And he reads a note and it's basically
Yes.
from Madger. I mean
Badger, Muck
McBadger
Badger.
saying, please come to Toad Hall immediately, right? So
Yeah,
presumably this letter was sent the day before. I don't know.
yeah.
And they turn up, and it turns out Toad's finance. There's all these people demanding bills to be paid, and
Mm,
McBadge is trying to. He goes, I don't know what we're going to do. Toad just keeps doing, has these impulses. He just wants to do stuff, does not care about a fig about the actual running of the place.
mm.
And McBadge is trying to keep. It's basically he's volunteered to be the accountant for Toad, and it's
Mm.
like not happening. The Toad,
No.
I mean,
Toad has
Toad
basically
Hole.
made the whole play thing bankrupt.
Yeah, Toad
Like,
Hall is a magnificent building, but Toad is just
yeah.
running into the
And they
ground.
do say that the folks at the riverbank do adore Toad Hall. Like they are
Yeah,
very proud of
yeah,
Toad
everyone
Hall, so
loves
they
Toad
are
Hall.
willing to chip in to keep Toad Hall
Yes,
up and running.
yeah. So basically, basically he's got this mania for driving around the countryside with Cyril, the
Yeah, in
horse,
a cart.
in a
Well,
car,
they use
just
a term
racing
that we
around.
can't really use anymore
No,
in it,
a
but
cart, but a cart.
let's say a traveler's cart.
Yeah,
But yeah, so Cyril and him are skipping around the woods. They sing a fairly nice song called "Merrily on Our Way to Nowhere."
yeah, great song. Kind of a precursor to some of the songs we might hear in Alice in Wonderland, things like that, right?
Hmm.
It's kind of got that nonsensey vibe, right?
Yeah,
And
it's not
nonsense
really
songs
sort
are a
of
big deal in
yeah,
Disney, and other things like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, things like that, right?
yeah,
It's got that kind of vibe. But it turns out, and it wasn't that obvious from the film to me, but it turns out they kind of keep damaging property by all this reckless driving, which is what's causing uh,
yeah. So they have to
money
keep
to leak,
yeah.
right?
Badger has to keep paying for the repairs for every building that they crash through
Yeah.
on the way.
So they try and change his mind, and he acts like his mind has been changed,
Mm.
but he's still
And it
riding
just
around
hops
with
back
Cyril.
onto
Yeah,
the
riding around with
horse and
Cyril,
takes
and
off.
they hear this weird noise, and he says to Cyril, "What's that noise?" He goes,
Mm.
"That is a motor car."
Yeah.
And these two chaps come over the hill in
Mm.
a motor car. This is set in 1905, so it's like the birth of the motor car, really. But
Yeah.
as soon as Toad sees his mate, he's got love in his
Yeah.
eyes.
He gets
You
a
know,
new mania and he's like skipping around on the floor, like making car sounds. It's
yeah.
like, I must have one, sort of thing.
Yeah, but they basically his friends basically is an intervention, right?
Yeah, they lock him in his room.
They lock
And
him in
it's
his
like, yep,
room and try.
we need to keep him under lock and key. We will give him like an allowance from the Toad
And
fortune.
there's some comedy stuff where they're trying to keep Toad and they actually grab his trousers and he just jumps out of his trousers
Yeah,
and rides
there's a
off in his
bit of
long
that.
johns. Right?
Well, there's a bit of that. They throw him in his room, lock the door, and he's like,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then you see him climbing out the window. It's like, ha ha, come on, Cyril, we'll find ourselves a car, and there'll be no trouble. Smash cut to Toad arrested for theft,
Yes.
on
And
a
it turns
newspaper.
out did he steal the car? No, he didn't steal the car. What
No,
had happened was him and Cyril saw this wonderful red car. Was it a red car? Red
yeah,
car
big red
driven
car.
by a load of weasels. And they could too talk about how you can't trust the weasel and all this.
Yeah,
And the main driver, this weasel, and then all these little weasel minions all scurry out into this bar.
mm.
And Toad goes in and
He wants to
uh,
buy
he
the
wants
motor
to
car.
buy it, right? And
Mm,
essentially, and we all find this out in the trial where Cyril is testifying, right? And he's
mm.
doing it in like in rhymes, right? He's right, almost
Yeah,
like
it's
rhyming
verse,
couplets.
pretty much.
Yes, he's like telling a story in verse, right? And he says, yes, he bought the car for the price of total. Toad
Yeah,
basically traded Toad hauled him for a motor car to the
yeah,
Weasels, who stole it anyway, who had already
yeah,
stolen it. But
and then
it looks like he's gonna get off because the barman Winky, who's
yeah,
like a happy-looking chap, turns up
mm.
to testify. But then he says, "No, he tried to steal me, sell
He
me
tried to
the
sell me a
car."
motor car, a
Car.
stolen motor
So,
car.
which puts Toad behind bars. And it looks like he's in a tower in prison.
Hmm.
I don't know if it's meant to be the Tower of London. I'm not quite sure.
No,
But
I don't
basically,
think it is, but it's a tower in a big castle-like structure.
so
Oh no,
Toad.
he is in the Tower of London. Okay.
I wasn't. Well, it didn't look like the Tower of London, but the
No, it didn't, but
text. But they were
yeah,
talking in the big city. He's in the tower, and it is at the top of a tower, but it didn't look much like the
yeah,
Tower of London, right? Maybe that was they decided that would be a bit rich to just do the Tower of London, but yeah,
yeah.
apparently maybe in the main story it's the Tower of London. Don't know.
Yeah, I'm just
Um,
having a look.
anyway, they figure out it's Christmas. Is it Christmas?
Yeah, so
And
it's
Toad's like
Chris.
thinking of all the things he's done wrong, and he's gazing into a puddle and seeing the faces of his friends. He's very sad, is Toad, and
Yeah,
it's not good to see Toad like this. We
no,
like Toad, right? Um,
he
so
gets a visit from his grandmother,
Grandma, which is Cyril,
Cyril in disguise.
dressed up as a woman, and he's got a mini version of his disguise for Toad.
Hmm.
Um, and Toad essentially gets out, but he's got a ball and chain on his leg while
Yeah,
he's under his dress. And he's trying to sort of get away, and then we get all these shenanigans of him trying to get away. And
yeah,
at one point he gets on a train, and another train full of policemen chasing him, and they're
yeah.
shooting at him. And Toad
No,
is
they're
so
shooting up in the air for a while, and then they start shooting at
shooting
him.
at
It's like they're cowboys.
and Toad is so kind of so life loving. He actually looks for a hole and waves at them while they're shooting at him with a big smile on his face because he's happy to see people. Right?
Mm.
And then Toad has a brilliant idea of how they go across a bridge. Oh, he jumps into the river. Unfortunately, he's got a ball and chain
Yeah.
on his leg.
So we get
Right?
a weirdly tense scene of Toad almost drowning.
Drowning, and it doesn't get resolved. It cuts away, and you
No,
think,
it cuts away,
"What's
and like
going
it cuts
on?"
to Ratty and Mole
Uh,
having Christmas dinner, and they're just
yeah,
like saying their grace, and there's a knock on the door.
and it's Toad.
Yeah,
And um, they drag him in, they sit him up
mm,
and sort of revive him a bit. But Walter
yeah.
Rat says, I'm sorry, Toad, you must pay your debt to society.
Mm.
Um, and then
There's a knock on the door, and
Badger
Badger
turns up
shows up.
and he says, the Weasels are now all taking over Toad Hall and they're like
Yeah,
wrecking the place. And Wink is the leader.
yeah,
And it basically says, yeah, Toad had indeed traded the estate to the Weasels for a stolen car. So,
mm,
which confirms Toad was innocent all the time. And Walter Rat immediately apologizes.
yeah.
Says, I'm sorry, I got you wrong, Toad, and all that. It's all okay.
It's
That's
all
no
very
problem.
quaint.
Yeah.
Then we get the they
they
sneak into Toad Hall for
yeah,
some back
they have a
photos.
plan. If they steal deed that's been
Mm,
transferred, they can prove that Toad was innocent,
mm.
and they know that the odds are long. Uh, and basically, we get a massive shenanigans of weasels and the four,
Weasels,
you know,
Winky,
the
and the
four,
four
you know,
animals.
mole, water rat, and badger trying to fool them. And at one point, I did laugh because Toad just starts because they're after this piece of paper. Toad just starts manically making paper airplane. Oh, at
Yeah.
first he
He
turns
folds it
the
into a
deed
paper
into an
airplane
airplane
and
and throws
throws
it,
it just
and
because he
then
gets grabbed.
it just gets a whole set of papers and
Yeah.
converts them all into paper airplanes. It just starts throwing around the place, confusing the hell out of everyone.
Mm,
And then they get away and they think, well, that's all very well. We got away, but we still haven't got the deed. And Toad's like, aha! Pulls out a
mm,
paper airplane and he's got the deeds. So they everything. Toad's um, pardoned. You know, he was always
mm.
innocent. Gets his
Yeah.
gets Toad Hall back.
I got to think of like, oh, and now he's really, really calmed down.
Calm down.
And then there's a
Nope.
massive crash, and they run to all the characters run to the window, and Toad's on a bleeding Wright Brothers
An old
plane,
plane.
right,
Yeah.
just flying around and crashing into stuff. It's like,
With
oh, that
Cyril.
old Toad.
Cyril's in
Yeah,
it too.
Cyril's on the plane too.
Cyril's on the plane too. A marvelous little story. Really,
Mm,
really enjoy this. And then it cuts back to the library, and Bing Crosby takes over as the narrator.
mm,
Wonderful bit of narration from Bing Crosby. Has to be
yeah,
said, who basically says, "Oh yeah, there's lots of famous
lots of
characters in
famous
it,"
American folklore
and he starts
too.
talking about Johnny Appleseed and
Yeah.
this, that, and the other. Pecos
It's
Bill.
it's a
Uh,
weird balance of like the American ones Disney had already adapted, but the British ones Disney was going to adapt.
Oh, yes,
Like if you
it's
think
very
about it. So
yeah, indeed. And in he talks about then they start talking about, but there's none other finer than Ichabod Crane. Ichabod. Why am I
yeah.
saying Ichabod?
You
Ichabod
bought.
Crane. And they start talking about the town of Sleepy Hollow. He's the Norse
Mm,
school master. There's a little song and sort of description of his odd
yeah.
appearance. He's lanky and he's got a
Yeah.
big nose and a flat
Big
head.
feet, all
Uh,
this sort of things.
very mannered, and he
Yeah.
is and he's the schoolmaster, right?
Yeah. And all the ladies love him.
Yeah,
Like, oh, they all fall for him.
yeah, because he's teaching them to sing, and he sings
Yeah.
like Bing Crosby, right?
Yeah.
So there's that,
Well,
and in the
so
singing lesson
pretty
they
much
all
all the
start.
characters are voiced by Bing Crosby in this
Yeah,
one.
that's true. The women though all start singing backing vocals to him while he's singing, don't they? And
Yeah.
getting like all sort of glad-eyed about him, right?
Mm.
But then we find that he's particularly taken with someone called Katrina Van
Yeah, one of
Tassel.
the Van Tassels.
Yeah,
Yeah, who are
the wealthy
the wealthiest people in
family Van
town.
Tassel. But also there's a guy who's like a big hunky, I don't know, stupid
Yeah,
man. You know,
he's a bit more of a Gaston
yeah,
looking
it's
guy.
Gaston-y kind of chap
Yeah,
called
use
Brom.
future Disney
Um,
parlance.
so basically, Ichabod and Brom are fighting for the affections of Katrina. It's not
Mm.
much of a fight because Katrina's obviously taken with Ichabod.
Yeah,
Um, Even though
like
Brom keeps
completely.
kind of disrupt, you know, he runs for a puddle on his horse to splash Ichabod.
Mm.
Katrina's on the back, suddenly appears on the back because he's just rocked up. But she also drops her handkerchief for
For Ichabod.
Ichabod.
Yeah.
And Ichabod doesn't give up, does he? You have to
No.
admire Ichabod. He does not give up. He keeps going. But
Yeah.
um,
We get a couple of songs in this sort of opening bit where we get the song about Ichabod, and then we get a song about Katrina as
yes,
the two are sort of frolicking,
yes,
basically.
yeah.
And Brom is
Brom's
getting
getting madder and
like
madder. Yeah.
angrier.
Because he
We're getting
can't get
like
one over on Ichabod, even though he's
it's
kind of.
full of like Ichabod and Katrina sort of walk past, push the branch out of the way, and it whacks Brom in the face,
Oh,
sort
yeah,
of
there's all
comedy.
that kind of business.
Yeah.
Lovely bit of animation again. I
Yeah,
really think
very sweet sort of
it
thing,
was
sort of
very,
stuff.
very good. I mean, I think we're hitting peak Disney now.
Mm.
You can see it in the animation,
Yeah,
right?
we're leading into the golden age of
Yes.
Disney like
Yeah, you can.
animations.
It's all there. It's all there. You can see
Mm.
it. What's coming. in
Yeah.
retrospect. Um, so anyway, Ichabod and Brom are invited to the Van Tassel's Halloween party,
Mm.
where Brom keeps trying to dance with Katrina, but this
And
other
she's
lady keeps butting in, and she will not let him go. She will not let
no,
Brom
she
go.
just
It's
keeps
very
grabbing a hold of
funny.
him.
It's very
Yeah.
funny. But then we get a note where Brom's watching Ichabod,
He
and Bing
notices
Crosby as the
how
narrator
yeah,
talks about how Brom knows how superstitious. And indeed, we
yeah,
see that visually because Ichabod knocks over some salt and throws it some over his shoulder, and Brom reckons
he
he can
can
play on these
yeah, he's a
superstitions.
scaredy cat sort of thing.
So he then starts
But yeah.
telling the tale of the headless horseman,
Mm,
um,
yeah.
looking for a head to replace the one he
Yeah.
lost. And
And
the
this
only
is this is a very good song. I do really
yeah
like this song. It was kind of like putting on the Ritz.
yeah
But like it had that sort of like lilt to it.
yeah, and
Um,
Bing Crosby's a great singer, right?
yeah, and it's
Very,
Bing
very,
Crosby singing, so
yeah.
yeah,
I
it's gonna
mean,
be good.
it's like velvet voice, isn't he?
Yeah.
Really is.
Like with a
Uh,
hip hip and a
yeah,
hippity
it's
hop.
really relaxing and sort of
Yeah.
yeah, it's really good. So that night has to ride his horse back.
Yeah.
His horse is called
Also,
Gunpowder. Looks like
yeah.
Cyril. Looks like
Yeah,
Cyril.
looks the same as Cyril. To
Uh,
be clear, this is a 30-minute segment. We're about 25 minutes through at this
oh
point.
yes, yes. This
This is
segment
what I mean when
is
I meant there's great pacing for this one.
yeah, yeah. The I have to say I know this segment backwards because it was one of those ones that was constantly repeated on various Disney programs or films or film kind of programs for kids. There was
Mm,
a film show called Screen Test where kids went on and were quizzed about movies. Right, they were shown bits of movies and then quizzed on it, and they
mm,
often would show this segment.
yeah.
And it's probably the most played segment on British TV out of all Disney. That's how much it was on, right?
Mm,
But it's great. It's so good. It's so good.
yeah.
So it's fine. So Ichabod is
And
on
we
his
get,
horse on the way home, and he's
yeah,
kind of getting scared because like the woods are
yeah.
making weird noises, and he
The
keeps imagining
clouds look like
things.
hands closing in
Yeah,
around the moon. The
and there's a
frogs
kind of
and,
weird
yeah,
music generated from the sounds of the night,
and
and
the reeds and,
yeah,
yeah,
so basically Ichabod and his horse kind of get scared, and
yeah.
then they realise they're just scaring themselves. So they actually
Yeah,
start laughing.
they find they hear horse beat chasing them, and
Yeah,
they panic. They run into a graveyard and they see some reeds on a log. They're beating out a horse
yeah,
run. Ah
yeah,
ha 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 ha.
yeah,
And it's like,
yeah,
oh
yeah,
God.
mm,
And then the headless horseman's there,
yeah.
like just on him, basically.
He's got a burning jack-o'-lantern in one hand and a massive
And
sword in the
yeah,
other,
swinging around this big cutlass looking
and he's
thing.
on a big horse, right?
Yeah,
Big black
and
horse.
it's quite stark because all the other characters are drawn in these very comical styles. Ichabod
Yeah,
himself is like rake thin. Brom Bones is basically like a big triangle.
yeah,
And then the horseman just has fairly realistic human proportions, and so
yes,
does his horse.
yeah.
So
So basically, there's a chase, and it all just go. There's some comedy
yeah,
beats within the chase. They're being terrified. It's a bit. I think Scooby Doo owes a
oh
lot to
yeah,
this, right?
Scooby-Doo definitely owes a lot to this.
For example, there's a bit where he's chasing Ichabod, and Ichabod's neck gets caught under a branch of a tree, and
Yeah,
his entire body
it
swivels
swings
around,
up and around and
and he ends
lands on the
up
back of the
sitting
horse, and
behind
yeah,
the headless horseman, and his horse is behind them because they're running around
yeah,
the tree. And then it, does it
yeah.
again, and he goes back to his own horse. At one point, they know they have to get to the bridge, and if they're get to the bridge, they're safe.
Mm.
And at one point, something gets confused, and the horse starts running the opposite way. But
Yeah,
Ichabod's still facing towards the bridge, so he's kind of
yeah,
confused. Why is the bridge getting further away? There's all this comedy stuff. It's really cool that he does make it over the bridge,
yeah. They do this
but
great bit of like where you see it, and then you get a bit of the song plays again.
yeah,
Where they do the once you cross that bridge, my friend, the ghost is through, his power ends, and it's like he gets across, and
but
then he
it
turns around, and the horseman just whips the pumpkin at him, and you
throws
see
out.
like first person as the pumpkin crashes into Ichabod. So
And then a very, very dark ending, right?
yeah,
Basically, the next morning, Ichabod's hat and a smashed up pumpkin are found at
in
the
the
one
road,
side of the
and
bridge.
that's all that they find of him.
They know
Like,
he's
huh?
just disappeared.
Yeah.
So in the end, Katrina does marry Brom, but there are rumours that Ichabod's married a wealthy widow upstate, right?
Mm.
Um,
But they'll never know
but
for sure. And maybe the horseman got him.
yeah,
And it's like it's just you get the shot of the horseman
yeah.
pulling out this knife and the pumpkin again. It's like whoa, and that's the end of it.
I have to say, watching this made me want to watch Sleepy Hollow again, the movie
Yeah,
Sleepy Hollow,
yeah,
with old Christopher Walken's terrifying headless
yeah.
horseman.
There's the
Um,
Hessian.
the Hessian. That is a good film. That's a
Mm.
really good. It
Who
might
knows?
be
Maybe
my
that'll be my
favorite.
choice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it might be my favorite Tim Burton film. I gotta be honest, I really like it. I like
Really?
it. I
Okay.
like it even more than Ed Wood. I think. Though
Okay.
the Batman and Batman Returns are really high up for me too.
Yeah.
But I really do like Sleepy
Yeah.
Hollow. I think it's such a good film.
Yeah.
Um,
But the film now ends with basically a kind of funny bit of the Bing Crosby's narrator just being like, "Yeah, you know what? This is a bit too scary for me. I'm going home. Good
yeah,
night,
yeah.
folks."
I've had enough.
It's
I've
like
had
it
enough.
just it basically reverses the intro of zooming in through a window.
Yeah.
It's like, and
Yes.
that's the end. Like he's like, "I'm too scared. No, I'm done. Sorry, I'm out." So,
Yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I really
mm,
did. It's got me really juiced for what's coming as well.
mm.
I think those other one, those travelogue ones, we there was too many in a row, really.
Yeah,
Uh,
they really started to taper off
yeah,
quite hard.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Though there were some real high points. I really liked Mickey and the Beanstalk, and I
yeah,
really, really enjoyed Song of the South, particularly the performance of Uncle Remus, the
yeah,
man playing Uncle Remus,
it's
and
well,
the Brer
yeah,
Rabbit. The animated
yeah,
sections. I know that film has problems, but we talked about that.
yeah.
But it's still very enjoyable and sweet.
Mm,
The actual human parts of it. Were removing the context of everything was actually very
yeah,
sweet. Um,
it's not something
so
we should, yeah, but yeah,
yeah.
but this does mark the end of the compilation films for now. They do dip back into it a little.
Yeah, there's a bit with like Winnie the Pooh and that, right? And
Yeah.
we get another Fantasia and stuff like that. But yeah, this I enjoyed greatly.
Mm.
Any final thoughts before we um rate it?
Uh, it's a weirdly holiday themed movie because you get both Christmas and New Year's
And
in the
Halloween.
Wind in the
Yeah.
Willows, and Halloween in the Ichabod section. So
Yes.
yeah, I mean this is a good one to watch around the holidays. So
Yes, indeed,
mm.
indeed. Yeah. How would you rate this one?
I'd rate this an easy 8, maybe a 9.
Yeah, I give it 4 out of 5 as well, so an 8 too. A
Yeah,
very
about the same.
solid 8 as well, right?
Mm.
I thought the animation was good, the narration. Basil Rathbone and Bing Crosby were great narrators in
Yeah.
this as well. That really worked for it, and it was a very joyful. I found it a very joyful film. Though
Mm.
having said that, the travelogue ones are also quite joyful.
Yeah.
By their nature. But this just everything came together. This was like felt like we were on all cylinders. Considering we haven't really had a feature since Bambi.
Mm. Yeah.
Depending on whether you include Song of Self or not in that listing.
Yeah.
But I mean, this isn't even a feature, is it? It's two stories put
Yeah. It's
together.
too short.
But yeah, well, we both enjoyed this.
Mm.
Really good. It's on Disney Plus. Really, really solid. And enjoyable, and
Mm.
easy to watch in 2 parts
Yeah.
as
Very
well.
easy because
And
it's nicely divided.
it's probably
So
it is almost half and half, and it's about 35 minutes each
yeah.
story. And they fly by. I couldn't
Yeah.
believe how quickly Mr. Toad and Ichabod
Mm.
stories went. So yeah, very enjoyable. And in fact, I watched it in 2 goes today.
Mm.
I watched Ichabod I watched Mr. Toad breakfast and Ichabod over lunch. So lovely, great,
Nice.
really great. So yeah, we really enjoyed it. So next time we come back to Disney, it'll be Cinderella.
Yeah, we're moving into the Disney Golden
We're in the
Age.
50s.
Yeah,
We
we're
hit
bumping over to the
1950.
50s.
So we've got a lot of good stuff. I think there isn't a dud for many, many movies. actually.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
that's fair to say.
yeah,
Yeah,
so we've got a lot
uh,
coming. I'm looking forward
yeah.
to this. This is a
We've
really
done
good season.
13 years of Disney already.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, we got a lot more. We got a lot more.
mm,
Um, and we got to figure out which ones we're gonna. Are we only doing cinema based one? Things like that. We have to
yeah.
figure that out. Probably will. Probably will.
I think
But
we can arguably just cut out all the 2000 sequel movies.
yes,
So,
yes, yeah, yeah, agreed. Apart from there are a few sequels that were cinematically released, right? Not the
yeah,
two
well,
thousands ones,
no,
but
they were.
like
They
the
were just.
Rescuers sequel, right?
Oh yeah,
That
that
was
that definitely got a cinema release,
yeah,
but
yeah. So we'll
like
be
a
doing
lot
that.
of the what are called the Disney Toon movies are
Yeah.
did get cinematically released. So
Mm, mm.
it's
We'll
just
see.
they're
We'll
not
see
as
how we
good.
feel.
So
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see how we go. We'll see how we go. And we're probably not going to do Pixar, are we? Either. Um,
no, but
so,
I'm
but
not too
we'll see.
fussed. I think we've
Yeah.
done like a good chunk of them anyway.
Yeah,
So
well, they're almost their own. I mean, they've done so many. Probably want to do them as their own series at some point, maybe.
yeah,
But we'll see. All right, then. Let's wind up there. So, bye from me.
bye.